Hello everyone and welcome back to the Adams Eats Kitchen. How are we doing? Hope you had a good weekend. Now today I've got a real treat for you. I'm going to recreate the Findus crispy pancake. Now if you don't know what a Findus crispy pancake is, you weren't a child in the 70s or 80s because these things were on every child's dinner plate during that time. Also going into the early 90s, mid 90s as well. But these things were really popular. I loved them and I used to come home from school on a Friday and I'd have one with chips and beans. And my favourite was probably the chicken, bacon and sweet corn, which is what I'm going to make today. There were other flavours as well. You had the minced beef and onion, you had the cheese and ham I think, and also there's like a smoked haddock and cheese one as well. I kind of like them all really. The minced beef and onion was my least favourite because you get kind of chunks of gristle and stuff in there. Yeah, kind of veered away from those. So that's what we're going to make today guys, so following the usual drill. If you hit that pause button, make a list of those ingredients and we'll go and get stuck in. Right, okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to prepare this chicken. Now I'm using chicken thighs. I think in the original kind of Findus crispy pancakes they use chicken breast, but chicken thighs are cheaper and in my opinion they taste better. So I'm just going to take these out, put them onto my chopping board, and I'm just going to remove the skin. You don't have to chuck this away if you don't want to. You can use it for stocks. You can render out the fat and use that. Or you can make chicken crackling, which is also nice. Okay, so once you've removed the skin, I'm just going to get that out of the way for a second. And taking a sharp knife, I just need to remove the bone. And all I'm going to do is just cut either side and then just cut the bone away. Make sure you get out any cartilage, you don't want that. And what you should be left with is a nice chunk of chicken, and I'm just going to dice it into fairly nice sized chunks. I would say roughly that sort of size. Get that onto your plate, and then just repeat that with the rest of the chicken thighs. Right, so I've put my chicken on the plate there. Now, I did have 5 thighs, but chopping them up, I don't think I need 5, so I've only used 4. And the next thing we're going to do is chop up the bacon. I'm just using smoked bacon here. 3 rashers should be enough, depends how much you like your bacon. I'm just going to slice this bacon into nice little lardons, just like so, and we'll get that onto a plate. Right, so now we've chopped up both of the meats, the next thing we need to do is crisp up this bacon. Right, okay, so let's crisp up this bacon. So I'm going to get my pan onto a medium heat and I'm going to add just a touch of olive oil and then we'll get the bacon in. Now I have a sneaking suspicion that in the original recipe they didn't do this step, but I just can't resist. So I'm going to fry this up until it's crispy, which should take about 1 to 2 minutes. Right, so as you can see the bacon is nice and lightly crisp. So now we can add the chicken. Turn the heat down to nice and low, mix all of that together. And then to that, I'm going to add a generous knob of butter. Next, add about 2 tablespoons of flour, plain flour, and it will soak up all that butter and fat, and this is going to help create the sauce. Cook it on low for about a minute or so. That will just take the rawness out of the flour. Now you can add your chicken stock, and it should start to thicken up quite quickly. Okay, and then continuing to cook on a very low heat, start adding your milk. A little at a time, because you don't want this to be a really runny sauce. You want it nice and thick, because that's just going to help with the pancakes and you're not going to get filling all splooging out the sides. At this point as well, I'm going to add a bay leaf, which I'm just going to squish in my hands just to release those oils. And then continue to cook that on a low heat for about 5 minutes, just until that chicken is cooked through. Right, okay, so after about 5 minutes or so, you can see the mixture is nice and gloopy. You can turn off the heat at this point, and now we're going to add the sweet corn and mix that through. I don't think it needs any salt, but I am going to add just a touch of pepper. I'm just going to give it a quick taste. Yeah, that reminds me of childhood. Okay, so that's the filling ready, and we now need to let it cool. Now you need to let that mixture cool completely. Don't make your pancakes whilst it's still hot because it's just going to spill everywhere. So I've stuck it in a bowl, covered it lightly with cling film, and I'm going to leave that to sit there for about half an hour until it's nice and cool. Right, so now the filling is nice and cool, we can get on and assemble the pancakes. I've got 4 pancakes here, which I don't think is quite enough for the amount of filling, but you know, if you want to make more, then just make more pancakes. And I've got 3 eggs here, which I'm just going to lightly whisk up. And you can see with this filling that it's really quite thick. And like I said before, that's really quite important, because if it's too thin, again, it's just going to spill out the side of your pancakes when you cook them. So make sure it's nice and cool and nice and thick. So all we're going to do is just take one of our pancakes, lay it down, and then we're going to spoon some of that filling on one half. Probably that half there. Make sure you leave a bit of an edge so you can seal it. And then taking a paintbrush, just dip that in the egg, brush it all the way around the edge, and then just simply fold it over and press down those edges. Okay, then just turn that over, put it to one side, and then just repeat that with the rest of the pancakes. Right, okay, so once my pancakes are made, we're now going to pan them in the flour, egg and breadcrumbs, which is going to give it that nice distinct coating. Now, I'm using some breadcrumbs here that I've made. You can use shop-bought ones if you want, but I don't think these are quite the right colour, because if you remember, the Findus crispy pancake had that bright orange crispy coating. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of turmeric to the breadcrumbs, which will give it that nice orange hue. Probably about a teaspoon, and then just mix that all through. And all I'm going to do is just take each pancake and then just lightly dust with flour. Okay, the reason I'm dusting it rather than dipping it in, because these are quite delicate, so you know, you want to just be really careful with them. And then dip them in the egg and then straight in those breadcrumbs. Okay, get a nice coating on there. Okay, and then straight onto a plate. And then again, just repeat that with the rest of the pancakes. Right, so I've finished my pancakes, that's what they look like. Now they can be frozen as is, so you can put them in the freezer and then just use when you want. But I'm going to stick these in the fridge for about half an hour just to firm up a touch. Right, okay, so the pancakes have been chilling now for about half an hour, and I'm going to cook them up. I'm only going to do 2 because I'm going to freeze the other 2 to have another day. And the first thing I'm going to do is just add some olive oil to this pan. I would say about a tablespoon, half a tablespoon, something like that. And then get the pan on to a medium heat. And once the pan's hot enough, we're going to add our pancakes. Said I'm just going to do 2. And I'm just going to make sure that the seal is nice and tight. Just press it around the edge so it doesn't leak, hopefully. And then just pop them in the pan. Now you're looking to fry these for about 4 to 5 minutes each side until the outside is nice and golden brown and the inside is cooked through. Okay, so after about 4 minutes this side, I'm going to flip them over. Be bold, be brave. And just like before, we're going to cook them for about 4 minutes this side. Right, okay, so our pancakes are ready. I'm just going to serve up one. I will eat both, but just for presentation purposes, I'm just going to serve up one. We take it out of our pan, place on there like so. Now, when I told the other half what I was going to serve it with, I just said, you know, perhaps some potato wedges and some salad, and she laughed at me. She said, you can't have salad with a Findus crispy pancake. It's got to be chips and beans. And you know what? She's right. So what I'm going to do, so I've got myself some wedges still, which I'm going to put on the side here. And in true childish fashion, some nice beans. Right, there we are, folks. The Findus crispy pancake. I mean, they're a lot bigger than what I remember, but I think we should cut one open and have a look inside. Let's just kind of cut down the middle. Oh, look at that. Look exactly the same. Can you get a close up there? Right, I think we should have a taste. Right, okay, the Findus crispy pancake. Let's see if it tastes the same as the ones that I had in my childhood. Let's go in. It's still got that same flavour. You know, you've got that nice creaminess, the sweetness from that sweet corn, and that thick, gloopy sauce that we all know and love. And that coating is nice and crisp. But these just taste a bit better because obviously they're well seasoned and you know, it's all fresh ingredients. So yeah, really tasty, a lot better than the originals, and it's just a nice bit of food nostalgia. And there we have it, guys, the Findus crispy pancake. Now you can switch up the fillings to whatever you like. You know, you can do the classic minced beef and onion, you can do the ham and cheese, the smoked haddock, but this one was my favourite as a kid. Well, that about wraps up today's video, guys, so thanks again for watching. If you like what you see, stick around at the end because there'll be some links to some other videos, and if you want to subscribe, there will be a button for that as well. And I'll see you lovely people next time for more tasty fun and frolics, and I'm off to finish my tea.